to serve. And so that is a whole area that we are interested in. Then we come to loans. NDC is not against taking loans or grants, but we believe that loans must be used for investment, which investment will generate proceeds with which you can repay the loans. If you take loans for consumption, then you are pushing today's burden onto future generations. You are consuming today so that your children and grandchildren will be paying the cost. We think that that type of taking loans will be injurious to our country and injurious to the future generations of this country. And so, since MPP began taking loans left, right, center, and here I want to acknowledge our honorable member for Bolga Central. He kept saying that the bonds and other loans that we are going for, we have come to a stage where even the process of taking the loans has become an economic activity for a certain people. So whether we need the money at that time or not, because somebody gets a certain percentage of whatever loans we take, it is in his interest that he will continue pushing us to go for loans, even if the purpose of the loans are not that which will help this economy. We never listened to him. That's why we are where we are now. We have come to a stage that we are being told that the repayment and interest payment on our loans alone takes a huge chunk of the taxes we are collecting. So what it means is that if we allow that system intact without doing anything about it, we will continue to live in a system where we collect your taxes, and the taxes are not going to be used for any investment. They are just going to be used for the repayment of other loans. Then we fold our hands and sit down. Or at best, we have some to pay for salaries of workers, but the workers will not have the tools with which to work. And we don't have money to invest. If you are running an economy like that, you are surely running into a ditch. So yes, we think that taking a loan is important, but what you use the loan for is far more important. And again, we are living in a jurisdiction where, out of some pride, we are prepared to forego grants and rather to go for a loan. Were we not in this country where the Americans decided to grant us over $500 million to help fix our energy sector challenges? And because our compatriots in government always want to benefit from anything, they decided that they must have some, money, some personal benefits from the disbursement of the loan. So they went ahead and established PDSs and other things and so on. The Americans who were the donors, it's that, look, this is our taxpayers' money as well. We are prepared to give it to you to fix your electricity problem. So do it this way, that way, for us to ensure that the money will actually go to fix the problems. We say, no, we are a sovereign country. Because of our sovereign country, this your small money will not help us to do anything. Take your money. So all that money gone. And then you turn around to go and take loans to come and fix that problem. Are we helping this country? And the answer is no. They say this is free money. So I don't like it. I want a loan. Because in taking the loan, I stand to benefit. So you go piling up the loans, and that has brought us here this afternoon. Again, the next question is, are these NDC people patriotic at all? Because we have heard it being said all over that because of what we are doing, we are unpatriotic. We have a nation and we have a gap in our budget. And we want to close the gap by taxing the people. NDC people say no. Some are even saying that if we don't give in, they can continue paying salaries. And they've said all type of things. Please, we believe that NDC is a group of very patriotic citizens of this country. And we consider ourselves equally as patriotic as those who are in government, if not better. But it is the patriotic motivation that has urged us to challenge what is wrong and what we think will not be in the interest of this country. And that is why we are doing what we are doing. So we are very patriotic. We have chosen a way of governing ourselves that is through democracy. Democracy is a system of representative government, but what makes it effective is accountability. You give your mandate to people to govern you. You give them power to tax you, but you reserve the power to also question them, hold them accountable for what use they are putting your power to, for what use they are putting your taxes to. So in any democracy where you abandon accountability, then that democracy ceases to be a proper democracy. And when you talk about accountability, largely you can say that MPP is in government. So they cannot hold themselves accountable unless somebody holds them. And it is the duty of us in opposition to stand on the side of the citizens, to hold those to whom we have entrusted our mandate, we have entrusted the power to tax, we have entrusted our resources to account to us. And budget term is one of the most important terms of accountability. And that is why we are doing what we are doing. Finally, I'm told that people are wondering, where do we move from here? And I guess we must all understand what happens in Parliament when we get to budget, hearing, appropriation bills, and so on. When a budget is read to Parliament, the principles are debated the same way that you have heard them being debated. At the end of that first round of debate, there is a vote to determine whether we have accepted that basket, the framework of the budget. That is currently what is going on now. Now, whether we vote to accept it or reject it, if we reject it, it goes back for a new budget to be brought. If it is accepted, it doesn't mean that everything in the tax measures and other things have all been accepted, no. So we are at this first stage where we believe that the foundation of the budget is wrong. And we are prepared to deploy all the power you have given us. And that power is 137 MPs. We cannot have a bigger vote than that. And so that is why I'll commend our MPs that so far they have stood on the side of Ghanaians and have exercised that power fully. In fact, if I knew that it was permissible to infiltrate and vote, I would have descended from the public gallery to come and make the number 138. You see, so they have done their part. Now there is confusion as to whether the budget has been accepted or rejected. We are still fighting that. And they are pursuing every legal method to ensure that the principles of the budget will be rejected. But we may win, we may lose. If we lose that first battle, it doesn't mean that e-levy has been approved. That is where many citizens are getting it wrong. After this, whatever happens, then portions of the budget will be assigned to the select committees, or what you call subject matter committees. So the agriculture side will go to Agric Committee, energy side will go to energy, and so on and so forth. So at that committee level, the details of the estimates are examined. And before the details of this year's estimates are examined, the responsible minister will bring the details of how they utilized last year's budget for questioning. If they are not able to justify the expenditure of what we have given them, then the committee may vote to reject that particular aspect of the budget, even though the whole framework has been accepted. Now, if that one is done, all the sector committees will bring their budgets for debate on the floor. When the report from the committee comes to the floor, there's another vote. There's another debate. Then, after that, after all the reports have been accepted or whatever, then the tax measures must come by way of bills. So it is at that stage that either the Attorney General or Minister of Finance will now bring a bill that will provide for the collection of the e-levy and the other taxes. So that will be taken through the proper stages of lawmaking. Irrespective of what happens at committee level previously on the Finance Committee, or what happens in the plenary when the principles of the budget were being decided upon, we still have an opportunity to vote against the e-levy and make sure it doesn't happen. So we are at a stage where maybe from tomorrow we will revisit the approval or non-approval of the principles. But whatever happens, we still stand firmly by our initial position. If they are able to bulldoze it through, we have agreed with our members of parliament that boycott is not an option. Because if we boycott, what it means is that all these other stages will be railroad. So we will be present and undertake our key responsibility of holding the elephant accountable. So at every stage of the committee meetings, we will ensure that the proper verification of figures and other things are done. It is at that stage that the elephant in the room will be discussed. We are talking about shortage of expenditure, shortage of revenue as against expenditure. And we want to bridge the gap. Nobody is talking about cutting down expenditure. You want to tax people more. Even those who are dying, you want to tax them. But your privileges, you are not prepared to cut anything there. So it is at this committee level that we will deal with the privileges and determine which expenditure is of priority in this crisis period and which is not. And Parliament has the power to cut down those frivolous expenditures. I want to thank you very much. I don't want to spend the time. I know the others will do justice to the rest of the subject. Let me take permission to leave you, because when you look at my dressing, you know that things are not well everywhere. I have to go and continue something somewhere. Thank you very much, and may God bless you.
You can do better than that, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you very much, General, for that insightful opening remark. Now, in acknowledging the stakeholders we have present here, I left out a very important group because they are very special. They are our students who are here with us and who are also affected by the 2022 budget. I understand that we have a lot of students from the University of Ghana. Please, if you're here, wave at me. Let's give them a round of applause. Wow, beautiful. I'm also told that we have a number of students from UPSA. Are they here? Wow, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this program is a hybrid program relative to language. What that means is that today we will not be speaking English throughout. We are combining both English with the Akan language, because we want all the millions of people who are listening to us, who are watching us live, and who watch this program later to understand what is happening here. This is the first of this kind of forum. And so today we are doing it in English and Twi. At some point, I'll stop speaking English and speak Twi. And one of our speakers will be doing this presentation in English, then this presentation in Twi. And we appeal to the media to give each of these segments the needed coverage, the needed attention, because they're very, very important to us. When we visit other regions, we will do this program in the other local languages. Now, having said so, it is not time for me to today. He's a man who is known for his eloquence and his dexterity in a. He's the best friend of the once economic messiah of the MPP and now 10 IT champion Vice President Umia, MP for Bolega Central and a leading member of the Finance Committee of Parliament. He has promised me that today he will stay within his allotted time of 40 minutes. And so, ladies and gentlemen, with a hand of applause, let's welcome to the podium Honorable Isaac Adongo. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My illustrious brother, Honorable Erikopoku, who is one of our hardworking members and the ranking member of the Committee on Food and Agriculture. He is accompanied by his chief champion, Honorable Samsinahi, a very prominent face that delivered a lot of water and other services to the people of Ghana during just 4 years of His Excellency Dramani Mohamed's rule. I think that this is a very important occasion because it's an occasion where we are discussing the lives of the people of Ghana as it is today and how it will span out in the next medium to long term. But it is also very important because the budget is the catalyst for everything we do for the rest of the year. And so when we read the budget and we are discussing and debating the budget, we do so because the budget contains elements that focus, one, on the microeconomy. And the microeconomy talks about you, it talks about because we cannot individually measure all this, we must aggregate them into what we call the macro economy. And so whatever you and I are doing and earning our income and being paid our salaries will all be put together to be called the gross domestic product. What that means is that it is you, the individual, that is the driver of the bigger picture. And so if you are not properly taken care of, then chances are that the bigger picture will reflect the miserable life of the individuals. So when they come talking to you about interest rates or other price dynamics like inflation, the very best question you ask is, how does that reflect in the life of the ordinary Ghanaian who is the driver of these policies? We are where we are today because, unfortunately, we handed over power to a group of people who have chosen not to manage the economy for 5 years. A group of people who have specialized in using PR and managing narrative in order to enforce a certain belief system on us, even if they do not exist. A group of people who have been concentrated on always making us believe that the economy is rosy, even when we get home and we can't find a meal, they still tell us the economy is the best. So 5 years of non-management of the economy and the management of narrative that they want the people of Ghana to believe has led us to a point where we have no return and we must begin to confront the issues behind them. I've always said that these people were very, very lucky because they are the very good friends of COVID-19. COVID-19 actually rescued these people better than it damaged Ghanaians. And all the indicators reflect the fact that by 2019, Ghana was headed in the very wrong direction and that it was becoming almost impossible to deal with the propaganda because the truth would expose you. We have had several or another. There was somebody that was behind His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo that had the magic wand. And that this person knew economics and the economy so well because when he was taught economics at what level, the only teacher and lecturer who taught him died and didn't get the opportunity to teach anybody again economics. And so he was the repository of economics. And those of you who recall my comments during the first budget of the MPP in 2017, I had told them that you cannot use the basic principle of ceteris paribus to run the Ghanaian economy. Because the Ghanaian economy is an economy that has very complex and technical, institutional, and structural rigidities that must be addressed in order to unleash the potential that the certain principles that we're espousing can work. And I warn them that they can be forgiven for delivering propaganda lectures. In fact, they can be forgiven by allowing propaganda lectures to become their manifesto promise to the people of Ghana. But once they ventured into implementing propaganda lectures as policies that they needed to implement, implementation was going to expose them to by anybody. But we have realized that implementing policy is a lot more difficult because they deal with the realities of life. You cannot be experimenting with the lives of the people. We have come to this point also because we have had almost 4 or 5 years where we did not believe that the budget is the budget of the people. His Excellency the President has been appointed or has been elected as the President to be given the power to seek our mandate to collect monies from us and for us to determine and approve where he will spend those monies. And so the budget that he presents to us is our budget. And that is why there are elaborate processes of consultations and stakeholder engagements in order to arrive at a budget that is acceptable to all because it leads to a common objective of growing Ghana and growing our people. Under these people, the budget is for the president. The president sits around with a group of people and then they decide that what Ghanaians are looking for is A, B, or C. And when they come and you challenge the budget, they call you names because you are reckless, you are unpatriotic, and that all you want to do is to take power. But that is not the tenets of developing a budget. I would like to point out in the course of this conversation that whilst our peers were busily managing their economies and trying to ensure that the economies were resilient and could face whatever headwinds of COVID-19, we were in Ghana developing budgets that were to serve the private interests of the managers of the economy. So the budgets of this and the budget of today has been focused extensively on how the managers of the economy will go home with better pension, with better businesses, and with better wealth at the expense of the people who elected them into office. Even the so-called e-levy, the main cause of the resistance is not that e-levy should be implemented at all costs. The main resistance is because some 240 million a year over a period of 3 years, culminating is almost 800 million, will be lost to some group of people who want that money badly than you. So even in that sense, they are not thinking about you. They are thinking about themselves. Whilst they are taking 1.7% from you, they are paying themselves 4%. That is the kind of people we are dealing with. And it is the reason we are in the quagmire that we are. And today, even though it's a brief program, I will try to illustrate to you some of the challenges that we are facing and how those challenges are self-inflicted and cannot be addressed in 1 year. I will show you that in an attempt to deal with years of misappropriation and misapplication of resources, they want to solve all the 5-year programs in 2022. Economics is not an event, it's a process. You don't develop an economy in one stroke of the pen. If you agree that the Ghanaian economy was ravaged by COVID-19 and the economy only could grow by 0.4%, what you're admitting is that for a greater part of the year, the Ghanaian worker was sitting at home and was not working. What you're admitting that for a greater part of the year, the Ghanaian businessman was just feeding on his capital and not generating anything. Is that the poor farmer had a challenge growing food for the family. Now, having admitted all of that, you now come with a stick in hand and say you must go in and bring the last that is left of you because I need a revenue. That is not how you manage an economy. If I put together the numbers, you will notice that in 2 years, this government wants to take 72 billion Ghana cedis from Ghanaians after COVID. That figure is more than the total revenue we generated in 2019. How can an economy that gave you 55 billion in 1 year suddenly give you almost 72 billion in 1 year? More than what you collected in a whole year should be generated as additional revenue in 1 year. Clearly, this is an insensitive government. And this is a government that has lost its way. So if you could show me the first table, I would like to show you how our revenue dynamics have evolved. And you will find that in 2021, the government anticipates that by the close of the year, which is a couple of weeks away, it would have generated 55 billion. That will mean that even in the midst of COVID and all the challenges we had that we needed to be supported to come out of it, they still bulldoze their way, put their hands in our pocket, and 224 billion more. So if you are hungry and you are looking for food, no share aboya for or no so crowd this okunuka. The people struggled and your economy was only 0.4. Who introduces austerity in the midst of a devastating economic crisis? You don't do that. You rather support them to come out. But these people still took 24 billion more from us. In 2022, they expect to grow the revenue to 80 billion. That means an additional 45 billion in 1 year. That is 2021 after COVID and 2022 after COVID. You are getting in excess of, you are getting almost 69 to 70 billion. Look at the figures they were generating in 2019 before COVID. They were generating only 42 billion. In fact, they are trying to double the revenue in 1 year after COVID. So quite clearly, you can see that this is a very insensitive government. But you also see that the growth is so astronomical. And here I'll tell you why they are cooking these numbers. You see, those of us who were trained as chartered accountants were taught that your numbers will be audited. and were taught that you needed to be transparent and open as possible with your numbers, because you never know when you find an auditor sitting in front of you whose dresses are completely peeled, it's been washed for almost 10 years. You see the shoe is completely worn. And when you put 100 million on the table, he quotes a version of the Bible. That is when you know you are nearer in Sawam. So these people do not know that one day they'll find that auditor and they'll be heading to Insawam. But it is because the international investor is saying that what type of economy are you running that all the time you are borrowing without end. So now they want to tell them, oh, we can collect 45 billion more. So trust us. No sensitive person who has looked at the trajectory of your history and your performance over the last 4 years suddenly will believe in a magical number in 2022. If you look at the growth numbers for our revenues over the period that they've been there, you will see that they have never even done 30 billion before. So how can you do 45 billion in 1 year? And it is the reason we are in this crisis of. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look at expenditure, and I'm very happy that General spoke to the expenditures. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama left office with our wage bill at almost 14 billion. We'll recall that this 14 billion was a struggle because that was the time we had introduced the single spine. And there were several demands that we needed to meet. And we did 14 billion. Fast forward 2019, and we're doing almost, let's say about 2020, we're doing a double of the wage bill. And yes, workers did not see increase in their revenue, in their salaries. Workers did not see improvement in their conditions of service. So this doubling of the wage bill to 28 billion by 2020, who did they pay? Who did they pay? Champions of ghost names. You remember there was a time Ken Oforiatta said that somehow or another he had killed all the ghosts on the payroll and has saved us 46 million. Isn't it? Or was it 460 million thereabout? 2 weeks later, we saw all the ghosts resurrecting and asking for their monies. It is only under this government. So they doubled the wage bill by 2020, and next year they are doing almost 35 billion. Who does that? So clearly you are not managing the economy. If you are managing the economy, what you focus on is to build a lean and efficient public sector that can provide a need for the private sector to thrive and absorb these people as unemployed. But you know, when they came, the only option was that they would just look at the public sector and put people there. Now it has caught up with them, where they are now spending close to almost, what do you call it? You can see they are now spending almost close to 35 billion just to pay workers. And that is the biggest challenge. And they are not paying workers because workers' salaries have improved. You recall that it came to a head when they refused to pay for a whole year an adjustment. And subsequently, when the heat became loud, they decided to give about 4%, isn't it? That was when they said these were the 4% office holders, you know. So these are the people who have mismanaged our economy. Look at how much we are spending on interest payment. And again, you see that if you put interest payment and that of the, that of wages and salaries together, you will find that they are spending almost 70 billion Ghana cedis. So the 70 billion they are taking from you is not for us. The 70 billion that they're asking you to pay in 1 year, even though you are ravaged by COVID, is not because they're going to build hospitals. It is because they want to use it to finance their mess, which is the unregulated expansion of the public sector and the effect of the unreasonable expansion in our public debt, which must be paid for. If you put the two together, that is where they're asking us to pay e-levy to be financed. It is not to finance economic development. But you will find in the next slide to focus on just discretionary expenditures. Discretionary expenditures are expenditures that you can cut. You may say that we cannot immediately cut the wage bill because the workers have already been employed and they cannot go home. That is fair. You can say that your interest payments are obligations owed to people we borrowed from and we need to pay them. That is fair. But look at discretionary expenditures. You are expanding your discretionary expenditures by 27 billion Ghana cedis. This is expenditure you don't need and you can cut in order to save the people of Ghana. So why do you pursue Ghanaians for 6.9 billion and create the impression that without that e-levy of 6 billion, somehow you'll be going to IMF? Meanwhile, you are incurring a discretionary additional expenditure to 2021 of 27 billion. Nobody knows what you are using that money for. If I were a good manager of the economy, that is where I'll target. Because I already have the base of my goods and services from 2021. This 27 billion plus other discretionary expenditures, including other payments that they need to make. You are doing about 27 billion on top of the previous year. Clearly, this is not somebody who is interested in us. It's because this 27 billion, a lot of it is going to some people's homes. I said it's going where? It's going to some people's homes. So when they cut it, Ghanaians will be better, but they may be worse because the monies they need is sitting here. In fact, the 241 will be sitting here. So they won't cut it. What free SHS, then you hear them talk about one village, one dam, even though they have not had the courage to go and commission one of them. They talk about one district, one factory, and ended up painting people's factories. All the things they've talked about, the year of rose, you start, what have you? Put them all together. Since 2017 to 2020, as you can see there, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia would have spent 530 billion Ghana cedis. Not even 10% of that can be found in the flagship programs. So in 2017, when they took 51 billion, they spent only 2 billion on flagship programs. 18, when they took 59 billion, they spent just about 2019, when they took 9.2 billion, they spent only 70. Then 2020, when they collected almost 100 billion, they spent only 7.7. 2021, they expanded to 111 billion and only spent 9.1. Now in 2022, they are taking 137 billion and they are spending only 9 billion on flagship programs. So clearly, this is why they are taking our money. The money is going somewhere else. Now look at some of the expenditure dynamics. How can somebody who doesn't have money move from 70 billion of expenditure to 100 billion, 30 billion in 1 year? That is almost 60% growth in your expenditure in 1 year. Then the following year, you increase expenditure again to 111. If you want to start from 2019 where we didn't have COVID, so that we recover from COVID by going back and doing the things we're doing to grow the economy, we would have already added something in the region of 41 billion to our original expenditures when we didn't have COVID. It's only a reckless family head that does that. But you don't have the money. But the people must go through hell for you to live lavish lives. Because all these monies are put in. If indeed it was for the people of Ghana, we won't be insulted for our roads that are not fixed. And when we go on demonstration, they say intelligent, those who have been to school shouldn't demonstrate. If these monies were spent to fix our schools, our children will not be doing double track. In fact, if this money was spent to address unemployment problem, we will not be talking about a scam you start that will only create jobs for a period of 3 years of 1 million. And I'll be explaining that even that is a big scam. So quite clearly,